Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hey, I have a guest in. Rob, you're going to have to check this out and hear everything about his life. So I won't take anything away from his journey, his message, and what he wants to tell the audience. But for now, Rob, tell us all about you, man. Open it up.
Clint, I appreciate you, man. It's good to be here with you guys. It's a little bit different than Orlando, coming down here to South Florida, different vibes. But yeah, I'm loving it, man. You know, I met you through Wes. Recently, and you've been helping me with some editing videos and just kind of starting to jump into the social world, which frankly is pretty new for me. You know, up until recently, you know, for me it was like some basic LinkedIn stuff on business. It was like the old Facebook page, you know, to keep in touch like with my family and things like that. But I've seen the power of it. You know, when I first met Wes, which was a couple of years back, and I was kind of like dabbling in Instagram and just starting to throw some stuff out there, I actually got business from it.
Yeah.
I got a guy that reached out, you know, a guy that I knew back in the day from high school, hadn't talked to him in a while. And, you know, I was doing some kind of, you know, just willy-nilly videos, and the dude DM'd me and he's like, hey man, my parents are looking for a new financial advisor. And I was like, cool. And so a couple meetings later, we ended up onboarding them, and they're great clients. I still have them to this day. And so that was without even really having a plan.
Sure.
Just putting stuff out there. And I was like, oh my God, it actually works.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. It works very well.
Yeah. And I think it's a world that, you know, a lot of people are intimidated by, for a variety of reasons. But the thing, like anything, right? It's just consistency. It's just doing it.
Right.
And once you get going, you know, then you get around people that know what the hell they're doing, guys like you and your group. And then you formulate a blueprint. You start getting, you know, you kind of level it up a little bit, have a game plan. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So we're going to kick this thing off. And, you know, we talked about this a little bit this morning, but, you know, my industry, which is securities, is a highly regulated industry.
Yeah.
It's heavy-handed on the compliance side. And that's been my biggest challenge right now. It's not like getting on here, doing videos, you know, mixing it up with you guys. It's like, hey, what's compliance going to allow me to say?
Right.
And it's been really tough, you know, so far, but we're kind of working through it. And I think there's some things we can do.
No, I understand that. And, you know, look, in a modern world, social media is just a form of marketing. It's your resume to everybody that doesn't know you and all the people that know you, and their window to inside your life. So when you want to connect with business, you know, and to market yourself, social media is 100% one of the pillars of marketing. And if you master it well, you can create a social environment with very loyal and interested community members that are just about you and your message. So it doesn't matter whatever it is that you do, a brick and mortar, you do securities. I have clients that do fitness, online fitness coaching. I have lots of clients that do brick and mortar, from HVAC to detailing to lawn care to pooper scooper to child care. Like it's the range is astronomically wide, and it's really this simple. If you add in social media, you're going to make more money, not less, in whatever it is that you do.
No doubt about it. And it's interesting because, like, I feel like in my business, in the investment world, there's not a lot of guys doing this.
Right.
You know, and I've looked and I couldn't find many. I found a lot of what they call like these finfluencers, which are basically kids out of college that got a Harvard MBA, and they start posting stuff about the hot stock of the week or whatever, and they show you all the charts and all the bullshit. But they don't manage money.
Right.
They're not advisors. They're not fiduciaries. They're just kids that are like throwing stuff out there, trying to get the views and get paid from, you know, ads or whatever else it is. But as far as actual traditional finance FAs like myself, financial advisors, I couldn't find many, dude. Like, I found a guy up in New York that was doing some stuff that was pretty cool. And I found a guy, I think out of like North Carolina, Nashville or something like
100%.
that. But dude, like, hardly anybody is doing it. And I think it's because the regulation, what I talked about before, you know, a lot of guys will just quit. They're like, oh, this is too difficult. I'm not allowed to do it. All right, that's a wrap. Or it's the fact that a lot of advisors are older.
Right.
You know, the average age is like, I think 62 or 58, like around 60 years old for the traditional financial advisor. I
Right.
say traditional because, you know, now you gotta say, is it like, you know, digital or is it traditional?
Okay.
We do traditional investment advisory. So, you know, stocks, bonds, you know, blue chip companies. It's very boring stuff.
Yeah, that's part of the problem is that you're trying. So social media has that entertainment aspect of it, and it's hard to break through what I call boring content. It's quite difficult to master something that's going to work for the masses, that can help people in your message, but get their attention. I mean, let's face it, how fucking interesting is stock trading or investments or mutual funds or buying a portfolio of real estate? That shit's boring as fuck.
Well, let me go even further. Like, how boring is it to tell somebody, hey, the best thing for you to do is like buy the S&P 500 and never touch it.
Yeah.
Like, that's even worse, because at least these kids are like, you know, oh, you can get in on this, you know, when it hits this, and then you're going to trade here and you're going to get out and then you're going to buy options
money.
and you're going to buy crypto. Like, oh my God, like that's a recipe for disaster. I mean, you show me one guy that's consistently winning, it doesn't exist. Warren Buffett can't beat the market. Charlie Munger couldn't beat the market. These are the gods of real of investment. Okay. And these would be the first people to tell you, it's like traffic. Come in here. You're not going to beat the traffic in Miami.
Right.
You're not going to beat the market either.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it depends what you're trying to do. You know, the kids that are doing their, you know, claim to fame, they're selling the dream vacation. It's that quick money, right? Oh, you could make, you know, XX in XX minutes.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that's gambling.
It's dangerous.
It's very volatile, and it is a form of gambling versus long-term lifetime investments with someone like yourself, an expert. I mean, I've invested in, you know, stocks over the years, and it's the big ones. Tesla, Northrop Grumman,
Love that.
Apple,
Yes,
Google,
yes.
Visa. They're not
That's
going
right.
anywhere.
Yeah,
MasterCard, EMX. Like,
Yeah.
You just hit the things that you use in your lifetop, and that's pretty safe. Just park it there. Forget you even had it. Like, I opened up an account. I was going to do some trading, and I opened up an account, and I forgot I had $15,000 sitting in an account. Like, that's
perfect.
shame on me. But you know, good thing is I found it.
Yeah.
Because my kids would have got that. I
Yeah.
was like, and they don't know money, so they would have just wasted it on
Yeah,
something.
but I have a mentor that told me, you got to fly first class.
Right.
Because if you don't, your kids will.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to enjoy it. I worked very hard.
Yeah, you got to,
I'll
man.
leave them the knowledge and something.
That's right, yeah.
But they shouldn't have everything in the kitchen sink to just enjoy.
Yeah. So we talk to our folks about also the non-financial assets, so especially with regards to generational wealth.
Right.
Because it's a real challenge, you know, passing on assets, financial assets to the second gen, third gen. There's an old saying, it's a Chinese proverb, but it says, rice paddies to rice paddies in 3 generations.
Right.
And the American version of it is short sleeves to short sleeves in 3 generations. And it essentially means you got the first gen that has nothing. They work their ass off. They save, they scrap, they literally work their whole lives, and they build up this nest egg just to pass it on to the second generation. Now, the second generation is normally solid because they grew up watching mom and dad, you know, kill it and work hard and do the heavy lifting.
Right.
So Gen 2 is normally fine. It's the third generation because they didn't see what happened with Gen 1.
Sure.
All the hard work and everything that went into it. So that's why they say, you know, in the third generation is really the biggest challenge. Those are the kids that normally end up with the biggest problems. So we talk to our folks about these non-financial assets. You know, the financial stuff's easy. We know what that is. It's just math. But it's like, what else are you going to pass on? Well, what about the human assets? You know, the education, the morals, the values. How do you shake someone's hand, look them in the eye? You know, basic blocking and tackling. Then you got other things like community assets, you know, other things that are going to just really instill the second and third gen to just be good people and ultimately be a good steward of that wealth.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, you hear, what is it? Easy times breeds easy men.
Yeah.
You know, that what is it? A Jocko quote or something, but it's really the same. And you see that everywhere. Is you know, I worked very hard. I refer to that same concept as the 3X rule. So no matter where you're born in the class system of the United States, whether it's poor, middle or upper class. Doesn't matter. If you want to move through the classes, you need to 2x your work output. So it doesn't matter on the skill. I could be a trash man, right, during the day. But if I hustled and did junk removal at night and on the weekends, now I could 2x my lifetime revenue in one generation because I just had double output. And if you wanted to go from lower class to middle class to upper class, you would 3x it. Catch. You don't get to enjoy any of that wealth. You pass it all on to the children. And now your children starts with the opportunity to have fully funded higher education, doctors, attorneys, all those kinds of things. You could fund your children, doesn't matter how many, to get that higher level of education. And now you're leaving them a house, you're leaving them lots of assets and all that education. And now they could potentially be a doctor with no debt, you know, and that was because you left it to them. But then their children will have seen it easy.
That's right.
And they mess it up. I don't know how many, I'll just say it like this. The people in my life, specifically, male or female, doesn't matter, that grew up with nannies in the house, cleaners in the house, and the top 5% of society all have this inability to do almost anything in life as an adult is because there was no adversity along their path of growing up. Now, I get it. Mom and dad weren't present. They didn't get the hugs that they thought they deserved. Yeah, cry me a fucking river. But they're not able to effectively produce in society, or at their age bracket, they're massively behind their peers is because they just have a low exposure of stressors and an inability to handle just regular life stress. So
That's so spot on, dude.
It is. And it's just those little wins and those little challenges help you just level up your ability to handle life stress. And then you're good. So it's like, my car tire blew out and I'm late to work. A regular person, normal, would be call boss. Hey, look, I just had a blowout. I'm heading over to this thing. The second I can get into an Uber, I'll get to work, and then I'll find a way to get back to the car at lunch. Yeah, they'll figure it out. The person that had low exposure to stressors, their day's done. They're calling in sick, like the car blew. They're like laying in the bed, having issues with their relationship, like so overstimulated from a tire that just went out.
They have no reps. That's
exactly.
the thing. And I think about that with my son. He's 13 now, and he's a great kid. We're super proud of him. But it's like, you look at it, like it's easy to like give the advice out, but then like, do you take your own medicine? So like with our son Chance, you know, I'm trying to give him things that, you know, I wanted to have when I was a kid. We grew up middle class. But at the same time, I'm also trying to instill in him the work ethic. I think sports is a really good thing too, you know, because you're going to get like the discipline, the teamwork, some of the adversity and the hard, the hard work. I mean, sports really was my outlet growing up, and my son plays, he plays a couple different things he's been into over the years. I was a football guy, so I played college football.
What's position?
Offensive line.
Yeah,
so I lost like 100 pounds, bro. I was like 300 pounds.
Which position in offensive line? You look like an end.
Yeah, so I was a left tackle at Jacksonville University. That was a small like Division I AA school.
You're small for a left tackle, bro.
Yeah, I mean, this was like smaller time. It was like D2 basically. And so I was 6'3". I'm 6'3". I was like almost 300 pounds when I played ball.
Wow.
And so I played 2 years at Jacksonville, and then I transferred to UCF, and I played 2 years at UCF. 2000, 2001, I was on that program. And so when I went to D1, which Central Florida's division, they were small-time D1 at the time. I moved interior, and I was a left guard. Because, so get this, like at JU, again, small program, out of the 15 or 20 offensive linemen at the time, I wasn't the biggest guy, but I was probably like, in the top like third as far as like size. When I went to Division I, we had about 18, 19 guys in the unit. I was the second smallest kid.
Yeah, D1, big level up.
At 6'3", like I was about 280 at UCF. And I was like tiny. Yeah. That was crazy, dude. And the guys are faster too. Like they're bigger and they're faster.
It's hard.
Yeah, man. But like I think back about the lessons learned, through those years. I mean, 4 years in high school was cool, but 8 years, playing ball in the trenches and just getting your ass kicked, delivering blows, fighting, scrapping, and the camaraderie of it, man. It was so cool. But I mean, to this day, I use so many tactics that I got from the game. The game was very good to me.
Yeah, that's I'm a big fan of sports because it teaches adversity. You can put in a lot of work and still fail.
Sure.
You can be very good at it. So talent is not a measurement of success. So sports is a good thing for particularly young people to kind of develop their social skills and understand is that I can put a lot into something and still completely step on my junk and fail.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's what sports teaches people, I think.
Yeah.
Because life is a lot like that. You could be doing a lot right and still massively fail. And oftentimes it has nothing to do with any of the choices you made. It's just, this was just a hand you were dealt and you got to figure it out.
Yeah, and the other thing too that's interesting is like you mentioned talent. So in collegiate sports, and I'm sure it's the same in professional, but everybody was a stud in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Like everybody was like all state, all county, all everything. And so you go from being like, the big dog on campus to like this little guy, like trying to, find his way. And so like everybody there has equal talent, right? So then what separates you at that level?
Yeah.
Now it's the other things. It's like the film study, the discipline, the attention to detail, your attitude in the locker room, like all the like intangible things. And that's really then what separates. I mean, Coach Saban talked about that quite a bit, because at Alabama, I mean, shit, like everybody's all world.
Roll
they come
Tide.
in, they're all 4 or 5 star kids. And you come in and it's like, well, how do some, make it there in that program and others don't? Well, what's the other things that, are you going to outwork the next?
If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, or anybody interested in the online space, I can tell you this: podcasts are one of the easiest ways to get your message out in front of a larger audience. Now, if you happen to be in the Miami area or visiting the Miami area, send me a message, drop in, and let's get you on the podcast so we can tell your story and start getting your message out in front of a larger audience in the world. Because one thing's for sure, social media is just another form of marketing, and most people aren't executing their plan correctly. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's volume work. You're talking 70% more work, 60% more work for a 1% advantage at that level. I mean, that's how good they are. And that front line in Alabama is what, like 3 tons? You know what I mean?
It's like moving a freaking
and they're fast too.
Hyundai.
They're
It's like
fast,
moving a car.
big guys. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So no, I'm a big fan of sports. I have had my son and daughter in sports is because that's the lesson I know I got out of sports. So that's non-negotiable. I think college is already looking at my son.
Cool, man.
For wrestling. So
Oh, sweet. He's a wrestler?
I think as long as he can stay healthy over the next 12, 24 months, he's definitely looking at a solid ride.
Awesome.
Anywhere he wants to go.
That's badass, man.
Yeah, he's good.
You got to be proud as a dad,
I'll show you a picture. He's like ripped it. I got him ripped at it was 14.
Awesome.
He's completely ripped. Like
Doesn't
it's
surprise me.
psychopath ripped.
Yeah,
It's like, good job, kid. He didn't miss his macros for 120 days. Not
Jeez.
one meal,
Holy
not
cow.
1 gram. And he's ripped. So
Dialed him in,
he's got it, man. The kid's got it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's it. So let's go back real quick. So you started on social media, and social media is actually quite difficult. Like you've noticed, it's like everything.
Yeah.
There's you watch the people that are really good at it make it look really easy.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I think, mastery level in anything. I think I could do a Michelangelo painting or something, but it looks like I did it with my toes, and no one wants it. So like
a
I
Van
get
Gogh.
it. Like, how did you make that look so easy? But that's mastery, and it's mastery in everything. So this journey of social media, why did you want to start it?
Business.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so like I've been in the financial services industry for almost 20 years now. I think like 18, going on 19 years at this point. And I got my insurance license when I was in college still. I had a buddy, one of my roommates at UCF. His dad was in the insurance business. I'm sorry, his uncle was in the insurance business. And he's like, hey, Rob, we got to get in the insurance business. Like Uncle Jack's killing it,
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. So I went out and I got my 215, which is like the state Florida like life health, license or whatever. And I started running around and like selling like HSAs and like term life. And I remember this kid, this roommate of mine that I mentioned, I remember driving around at night with him. We would make these signs, the signs that you see like out on the side of the road, like in the intersections. We would buy like 100 signs and it'd say like, life insurance quote or like whatever. And then it'd have our cell phone number. And we would drive around Orlando at night and we would take turns. One of us would park the car and then he would like take like 5 or 10 signs, sprint through traffic. This is like 436 and 434, like in Orlando, it's like kind of busy. And he would run out there dodging cars. He'd plant a sign. And he'd run to the other side, plant one over there. He'd hit like all 4 corners of the intersection. And then if he survived, then he'd come back and then we'd drive to the next, and then it'd be my turn. And then I'd do the next one.
Yeah.
And dude, that's how I started. Like literally just, hustling. Yeah, man. And so that was kind of, that I did that for a little while. And then I think I got like my first like real job. I met my wife, Jen. She was kind of already ahead of me like career wise. And she kind of like challenged me a little bit. I mean, I love being around people that are better than me. And so at the time, what attracted me to Jen, I mean, she's a beautiful girl and we have a lot of things in common, but she kind of helped me like level up a little bit. She kind of, because all the other girls that I used to run with, they were just like laydowns. It was just easy. Like they were fun, you just partying and stuff. Yeah, well, I mean.
Like a layup.
Layup, yeah. Yeah, layup and lay down. But, you go through the phase, when you're younger, you partying and stuff, running around. But I never felt like anybody really was like making me better as a man until I met Jen. And so, we kind of, when we got more serious, she kind of asked me like, what are your plans? Are you going to run around with signs like forever with your buddy Chris? And I was like, I don't know. I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it was fun, But so when we got together, we started talking more like finances and relationship, marriage, all that stuff. And so she's like, why don't you look at maybe going to like a big firm? And I was like, shit, I don't want to go to a big firm. Like I want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
But I ended up kind of like interviewing at some, Schwab and New York Life and John Hancock, like these, and I ended up going to work for a company called John Hancock, which is like a big insurance company.
I'm familiar with it.
And it was like my first like real job, and it was cool because like there was structure, like there wasn't football. So it was kind of like the blueprint, that you talk about and Wes talks about. It's like, you blocking and tackling, do 1, 2, 3. And that's what I like. So they told me, like, if you go out and see enough people on a weekly basis and you say these things and you ask them these questions, you'll be successful.
Yeah.
But it was fucking hard, bro, because it's like doing macros or social media. It's a lot of work, and you got to be consistent for a really long time.
You got to get it.
Yeah, you got to get it, and you got to pay your dues. And so, but I had a blueprint.
Yeah.
And so I just took that and I ran with it. And I'll tell you, man, it was like the hardest thing I've ever done. It was almost harder than the burpees this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so for about, a good probably 2 years, I was just struggling, barely making it. I'm at John Hancock. I'm selling life insurance, selling annuities. I'm going like door to door, literally knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a point in that early, stage where I felt like completely like I was like about to just have a breakdown. Sure. I remember literally crying in my car one day, dude, because I remember like I have nothing in the pipeline. I got no recurring revenue. Nobody's helping me. I got no referrals, and I got nobody to see this week. Like, how am I going to get paid this month?
Right.
And if it wasn't for Jen, who literally supported me for like the first year or two, like she was helping me pay bills and stuff because she saw something in me, and we cut, if I didn't have the support system, I would have failed out.
Right.
I would have failed out. But I somehow stuck it out. I somehow just persevered through it. I hung in there. And there was a point where the guy who hired me, he was the manager, and he ran the Orlando John Hancock agency. And he left firms, and he recruited like a lot of us to go with him. And I almost went with him, by the way. And every day, like another agent, another registered rep would leave and go, to the other firm. And I sat there and I prayed on it, dude. And I talked to all my mentors. I've always been big with coaching and having good people around me. And I was reaching out to people I respected, my father-in-law, my Uncle Hans, my dad, my pastor, all these guys that I really respect and listen to. And, I basically came to the conclusion, let me just stick it out here and see what happens. So I stuck it out. And what I did was, we used to use files, like paper files. This was back like before, e-files and stuff.
Ancient times.
Old school, man. So I would go in every day, and remember, like most of the guys are gone now, so it's basically an empty office. But we had a file room of like 30 years worth of clients. And I would go into that room and I'd grab a stack of files. I'd go into an office and close the door, and I'd start calling these people. And I would say, hey, this is Rob with John Hancock. I don't know if you know, but your agent left. I got to come see you. That year, I made what's called MDRT, $1 Million Roundtable. It's like a life insurance. Like if you hit certain numbers, and then you get into the thing. And that was like my third year at John Hancock, and I made MDRT. And I still have clients to this day that came from those files.
Yeah, so the mass exodus created a massive opportunity for you, and you just you capitalized.
I capitalized. And you know, I struggled for a while. You know, hindsight, for a while there, I was like, man, do I deserve that? Like, that was just a lucky break. Like, what if it didn't happen that way? What if? But then, you know, I'm like, wait a second. No, I'm the one that called those people. Like, I took the initiative to stay and to pick up those files and to make those calls. So I, you know, I was able to work through that. But like, I went through different phases in my career as I matured in the business. Because you look back on things like that and you're like, well, gosh, like, what happens if I would have went left instead of right?
Well, you don't know. You probably end up in the same spot.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's we think, we look back, hindsight's 2020, and when I look back at certain things were necessary for me to be here. So I wouldn't change them because I love here. And where I'm going to go in the future is probably someplace different that I can't perceive, but it will be better, bigger, and different than this time. But in reality, success is a character trait. Success isn't blind luck. It's putting yourself in front of opportunity over and over and again until you can find your path through the damn door.
Yeah.
The doors are all typically locked. We don't get access beyond that. So we have to keep beating on the doors until we find one that there's a chink in the armor. And once there's a chink, we run through, and that's our way of success. The difference between non-successful people, successful people, is they don't knock on the doors. They don't put themselves in front of opportunity. You know, if you just go shake, what is it? It's 100 hands or something. You'll run across a millionaire.
100%.
That's all you have to do. So keep shaking hands until you find an advocate that can give you a crack in the door to run through.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. It's just opportunity. And if you don't have the perseverance to push when you should, when everything in life tells you to just give up, roll over, you're not making any money, you can't get paid this month, we're not making it, I should just go back to my 9 to 5 and work in, you know, fast food because at least it's paying the bills. No, you had to press against the opportunity until it was there. There's no opportunity in fast food. You're trading opportunity for security.
Dude, I was going to go into the Air Force for a while. Like before this John Hancock stuff happened, you know, I didn't know after football was over, and, you know, I was still real young and like still partying, and, you know, and I was like, what am I going to do? You know, I wasn't a great student. I was a terrible student. I got the diploma, but it took me a few extra, you know,
I had to bribe a few people on the way up.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's just, I think you hit the nail on the head there with shaking the hands, because like I was classically trained in financial services, traditional financial services, which it was all about your level of activity. And it was such a simple formula. It wasn't easy.
Right.
But it was very simple. If you saw enough people each week and you said these things, you're going to be successful. Right. And a lot of guys would come in, you know, as newer agents, and they would be overthinking, like, well, God, I need to know like the technical, all the stuff about the products and all the, and those guys never made it, because like that stuff comes to you through reps. You learn all the technicalities just by being in the trenches. But people would get so froze up, they wouldn't want to go out and see the people. So I look back on that, man, and I mean, I would not trade those days selling life insurance. That and playing football in college literally molded me to who I am today. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Nah, nor should you. So I just believe I believe that's the golden ticket to success, is just being in front of opportunity over and over again until you're worthy to step through the door. And it's not because you're working hard. That's not how worth is. You need the skill to be able to execute on the other side. I mean, if you take someone that isn't ready to perform and you give them the opportunity to stage and you hand them the mic, they freeze up, they pee their leg, they can't handle. There's a certain growth structure to where when it's your time and they hand you the opportunity, you run with it. You'll be like, I got it, and the field's wide open. Everybody's behind you. It's touchdown today. You know, and that's how life works. And I know it's hard, but I know it can work for basically everybody. I've seen this over and over and over again. Man, female, immigrant, traditional person born in this country, low class, middle class, upper class, convicts, federal prisoners. And like it's happened over and over and over again where people just keep pushing themselves in front of opportunity until it's like, I can do this. Like, I got it. Give me the ball. And they're gone.
There's some universal law or something about it because, like you said, like the immigrant advantage, you know, people will come in, and I was born overseas. So like I'm first, you know, my son is first gen, like born in this country, and I'm dual citizen. It was cool to see Tobias this morning, fellow Norwegian. That was awesome. But yeah, like there's something to it where the universe doesn't give a shit about how smart you think you are or where your background is or any of that. It's like if you're gonna do the things that it takes to get it done and persevere, like you know, knocking on those doors, man. When I was at John Hancock, dude, that was brutal. I mean, me and this other kid, the young agent, we would go out in the morning and we would go to these industrial parks in Sanford. That's where I grew up, Sanford, Florida. Bow Key, they call it. And we would go into these like early in the morning. We'd have a suit, coat and tie, and we'd walk up, cold calls. And we would go in, and normally you could find the owner there, like before the employees would come in. It'd be like 7, 8 in the morning. And so we'd go into these industrial parks, we'd have some business cards, and I'd walk right up to some random ass, you know, small business owner, and I'd be like, hey, how you doing? My name is Rob. Good morning. I'm with John Hancock. Got a client down the road in this park here. Just wanted to stop by, introduce myself. And you know what, man? They were so cool. I never had one guy that like, you know, said, get the hell out of here. You know, they respected the hustle, you know, they did. And so the goal there would be like, hey man, here's my card. And this is like 20 years ago. Maybe it's different now, but then I would ask for his card. Not a lot of times I'd have one. So they'd give me the card and then say, hey, tell you what, if I'm ever, you know, back when I'm in the area, I'll give you a call and maybe one day I can stop by and bring your guys food. I'll just bring them like some donuts or something.
Just remind them that you still exist. It's
yeah,
marketing.
Yeah, just try to get in front of them.
It's all marketing.
And so they would be pretty cool, you know, and then we'd get all these business cards. We'd go back to the office and then you'd be feeling like all, you know, proud, you know, because you know, you did it. But then that was just like getting the girl's number. You had to then follow up. So we would like accumulate all these business cards, and then we would have a project where we would start calling them and be like, hey man, remember me, you know, Rob from John Hancock, I stopped by the other day. And like, oh yeah. And I'd say, hey, tell you what, I'm gonna be back over in that area next week on Tuesday. Do you mind if I stop by and bring your guys some breakfast and I can maybe talk to them a little bit, about 5-10 minutes, just talk to them about the market, 401k, whatever questions they have. Would that be okay with you? And I'll tell you what, man, a lot of them were okay with it. And they said, sure, come by, you know, I think that's fine. And I remember getting like my first big rollover from one of those little group meetings. They're just like 5 or 6 guys in a room, you know, blue collar dudes. And I come in there, I'm some punk kid, and I gave them like, you know, bagels and coffee. And I'm standing up there in front of them, like, you know, talking about their 401k or whatever it was. And this guy approaches me after the meeting, and he's like, you know, hey, I got this old 401k, you know, can you help me with it? I was like, yeah, of course. And actually, that guy's still a client to this day too.
Yeah, no, it's the old school stuff. So the opening conversation where you get the information is the easiest part of the process. The follow-up and the sell, building trust and rapport, is actually quite difficult.
Yes.
And that's, people confuse it. They think it's, I use this analogy when it comes to sales, and I think this is so true because I can't fucking dance, right? I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's like I got some skill, but it's not my forte, right? So put me on the salsa floor like I'm leaving with your chick. It's okay. But the deal is that dancing, sales is a lot like dancing. You may know the steps, and that's your blueprint and your script, but you're absent the art. So because you know the steps to the dance, you're sitting on the sideline because no one wants to dance with you.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to develop the art and the passion of the dance so that you can convert, hi, would you like to dance, into like all the people in the building want to dance with you because you know how to move through the process.
Yeah.
Sales, that's it. It's 3 parts art, 1 part script. Like if you sound like a damn robot.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, when you're running your script, it's never going to work. But if you know the script inside and out, like your product, now it's just a conversation. Look, I know this can help you.
Yeah.
The only thing that we need to discuss is that I can convince you that this is something that you can execute and it will help you. But I know without a doubt, if you did what I said, you're going to make a lot more money, not less.
You have to also believe, like you have to own the product you sell too.
Yeah, you have to
I'm a
believe
big
it.
believer in it. Like I always did that. And again, this is something that was taught to me. I didn't make any of this stuff up. But like I remember, we were told like you have to buy but this is back in the insurance days. You got to buy a John Hancock term policy because you're fucking selling them.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate because I was always at quality firms that had like stuff that I believed in. And the firm I'm at now, which is a Fortune 500, and we do discretionary investment management. So it's a fancy way of saying we invest in big blue chip companies. So the names you named before, it's like Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, Verizon,
Top 20.
J&J. Yeah, it's the boring businesses that are going to be there. And that's so we do wealth preservation. I'm big into dividend paying, dividend rising companies.
Sure.
Companies that they don't move that much, like they go up and down a little bit, but they're names that are going to be there.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing. And so, everything that we do with our client assets that, we run these models, it's where all my money is. I mean, all my assets are in the same stuff. We have something called equity income. It's a beautiful portfolio. It's like 25 stocks. You know all the names. It's like most of my wealth is in the same. It's in equity income.
Yeah.
And it's literally what I talk to people about. And I'm like, hey, dude, I've been in this thing for 9 years. This is what it did in 2020 and COVID. This was in 22 and the market was down 19. This is what it did when the market was up. And I know it backward and forward because I own it.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful part about sales is I believe you have to get high off your own supply. When it comes to sales, you need to be using your product.
Yeah.
That makes it the easiest thing to ever sell is because it's not a sell.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I do.
That's right.
So I wouldn't give you advice if I myself wasn't doing it. That's why I actually have a very large disconnect from a lot of things online. And the broader thing of sales online is that there's a massive disconnect. A lot of times the people that are selling something don't use the something. It's not part of their world. They're just selling it to make money. I can smell that in my way. It's like, you're fucking lying. I was like,
100%.
the things that I sell, I have to be aligned with. I have to use it. The things that I teach, I have to have done is because I was always taught, just like football and everything else, is that once you've mastered the skill, you can give it back. But absent mastery, it's a fugazi. It's a charlatan. You're selling snake oil is because you don't actually use the thing and you're not a master of using the thing. So it's wrong to try to get someone else to invest in whatever it is you're trying to sell.
And people know it too. That's the
they
thing.
can feel it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why you're not doing anything. I see all these guys trying to do it. I was like, you don't know shit about what you're selling.
Right.
I was like, you somehow managed to finagle your way some results from the thing. I go, but you did it for 90 days, 120 days. It's like, try a decade. Try mastery. And that's a segue into success. There's no statistical link between intelligence and education and success. Success comes with skill development. You can't read skill in a book.
Yeah.
It gives you a starting point with theory and guidance, but you must go do the thing and master the skill.
Action.
The faster that you can master the skill, the shorter the duration. That's why we see, these people out here that we know that somehow just crush success. And it seems like, it's like 3 years. Like this person just went out and did this thing, kind of like the immigrant thing. The only reason the immigrant thing is beating us is because that person is dramatically outworking us in developing skill.
It's easy. Yeah.
40 hours versus 120.
Well,
Who are you?
It's simple. It's not easy.
It's hard as fuck, but the process is brain dead simple.
Yeah.
And simple does not mean easy.
Same with investment. So Charlie Munger talked about this quite a bit. That was Warren Buffett's lifetime business partner. He passed away about a year ago. He's 99. He was a week from his 100th birthday.
Crazy.
Munger was the man. Munger I've studied and followed for years and years. He's just like Warren Buffett, but less of a filter. And he would talk about temperament with investment and how the intelligence doesn't really come into play as much as you would think. And it's more about the right mentality and the right temperament. Because we work with a lot of people that are smart guys, doctors, anesthesiologists, attorneys, you name it. And a lot of those really smart academic people are terrible investors. They're terrible because they know so much information and they're so good in their field. They think that equates to other fields like managing money. And so oftentimes they'll kind of outthink it, or they'll, overanalyze it, or they'll think, hey, this thing is going down, let me get out. And then when it goes back up, I'm going to get back in, and then I'll sell an option and I'll do that. When they would have been better served just to do nothing.
Yeah.
And then the guy that, like the small business owner, we work with teachers, firefighters, the more like normal people, they're wonderful investors and they get it. It's like you have quality stuff and you give it time. And you don't try to beat the market and get in and out. And I used the analogy earlier about traffic. I mean, you try to beat the traffic here, you start bobbing in and out, you're not going to get very far. You may as well pick a lane and stick with the lane. And it's safer too.
Yeah, 100%. It's just I don't know, it's a thing. With dealing with smart people, I actually oftentimes don't like to deal with very intelligent, smart people because they're actually quite difficult to, some of my biggest fights and conflicts in business have been with very smart people. Look, dude.
You won't have that problem with me.
Yeah, shut the fuck up and just listen. Look, I understand this and all that. None of that matters. I was like, please just do it this way, and here's why. Yeah. Okay. Like, and they do it, and like, I can't believe that worked. I was like, because you're listening. Understand, it's like, you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Like, just have to trust me. You're paying me for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? I do all the thinking for you. I've suffered, and I have hundreds of clients, so I know what works, what doesn't. What you think works, promise me. I promise you, whatever you and me think works, you'd be surprised.
A lot of it's ego too, bro.
It's
like
massive ego.
I was talking to, this is so funny, random. So I got a new rifle like a week ago. I picked it up yesterday.
What kind, by the way?
Like a Ruger 22. It's
okay.
My son, he wants to practice and get into
like
it.
a varmint rifle.
Yeah. Wait, a what?
Varmint. So
small
exactly. Caliber.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna take him out. We're gonna, he's been shooting before, but so we're gonna go out to the range and I'm gonna get him into it. But so anyway, so I'm at the place yesterday picking up the rifle, and I'm talking to this kid that works there. Real nice guy, kind of like like academic, kind of like nerdy kid, but like real nice kid. And so he starts talking to me as they're doing the paperwork, and he asks me what I do, and I tell him, and and he's like, oh, I just got a full ride to Notre Dame. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And so he's telling me about like all these like things, all academic, stuff that he does. And he wants to study law. And he's also into firearm, obviously. And so when I tell him what I do, he kind of like perks up and he's like, oh, I got my Series 65. And I'm like, Jesus, like that's not an easy test. And I was like, what, are you going to go into, financial services? And he's like, no, I was just kind of bored and I just got it last summer. Yeah. And I was like, wow, like awesome. Good for you. And so he starts asking me questions about like investments and like what we do with money and how we manage money. And, I'm kind of telling him, and so then he kind of gets on that, that academic, like brainiac high horse. Sure. And he starts telling me like, oh yeah, I think the stuff and they have in 401ks isn't that great, and I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, those funds based on your age. I'm like, target date? And he's like, yeah, target date. Like, I can do way better than those. Like, and I'm like, really? Well, tell me about it. Like, what would you do? And he's like, oh, I'd just buy the Qs. QQQ is like the NASDAQ. I'll just buy the NASDAQ.
That's like day trading kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just, so I asked him, and just to kind of like, play the game with him. I'm like, so what happens if you have all of your money in QQQ, and then it's like the late 90s where then it goes completely bust and you have a flat decade where you literally make no money in the index. Yeah. What do you do then? And he's like, oh, well, I'd look at it and I'd probably get out and then I'd probably I was like, see, like you're already off base, bro. Yeah. Like that's not the recipe. And this was a smart kid, academically smart. And this is like a lot of adults, a lot of people that we talk to that are, successful, intelligent people. And they think they can beat the market. Right. And it's not about that. That's a loser's game. Anybody out there that's, these crypto bros and these like finfluencers, all these people, that is such a crock of what. I mean, if you talk to anybody that says like, I'm going to get you in, get you out, do these schemes, we're going to buy these derivatives, we're going to sell puts, we're going to buy call. That is such a loser game. You're going to waste a lot of time, a lot of money, and you're not going to win. Yeah. I mean, I've never done day trading, so I don't know personally. I know this isn't investment advice, just going to clear this up, but this is personally what I did. I just literally used the standard model of investment for long term, which is the things that I own in my house from big companies I buy. Love it. So
I'm a big fan of Sony. Bought that. Didn't lose any money. When Netflix came out, I was like, that's going to take over the market. Buy that. When I saw the iPod come out, I was like, Apple, Steve Jobs had just turned it back on, and I was a big fan of Steve. I had followed his career since like I was a kid.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, okay, he's back in. They released the iPod. That's something I mess with. My kids are playing with it. I'm like, okay, buy that. And then, as you know, we know how all those companies turned out. It's okay. So it's big things.
Yeah.
The things that you use in your life are the easiest. And then if you can't think about what it is that you use in your life, just buy the market. S&P 500 is the safest long-term investment ever. It really is it. Like, it's not going anywhere. It never has. It's clear returns over forever.
You know, that's what Charlie Munger would always preach, and Buffett. Those guys would say the same thing. Like, if you're in doubt, buy the S&P 500 and just hold it forever. And you can't go. You're essentially betting on the U.S. economy. You're betting on the biggest 500 companies, and occasionally one will like fall out of the index, and then one will bump up. Like Raymond James, our firm is in there now. They were like number 501 a few years ago, and then like Kraft fell out, and then like they bumped into the index. So that'll happen occasionally. But for the most part,
it's not going anywhere.
No, dude, it's not going anywhere. And you're buying all the sectors. You're buying all the. You're essentially betting on the U.S. You know, moving forward.
It's not. It's a pretty safe play. Just saying.
Yeah, and you can't get burned doing it. You'll never go bust like some of these goons online talk about these things that they spew. You know, these charts and this technical trading, day trading bullshit. It is so toxic. It is so dangerous. And I mean, I talked to a friend of mine this week. This is a kid. He's a PhD.
That doesn't mean anything.
Well, to your point, smart guy. He's a chiropractor. He played college football. I've known him for years. Yeah. He called me up and he's like, hey man, it's like, I really, you know, I've been struggling with something, and I haven't talked to a lot of people about this, but you know, I got caught up in like some, you know, some of my buddies were like investing in like this crypto mining company, and then this other like meme stock, and he's like, dude, I lost like a lot of money, and I don't know, like, you know, what to do, or like, do I capture the capital losses? Like, how do I do it? And I'm like, dude, it was such a reminder. Like, this is a successful guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wish you would have called me. I mean, I wouldn't even work. He's a friend of mine, but I would have told him, like, don't do that. Like, whatever these people up there are telling you to buy these like fly by night companies. I mean, if you have a side, if you want to be responsible with like 90% of your wealth.
Yeah.
And you have like 5 or 10% off to the side that you want to gamble with and like roll the dice for entertainment purposes, frankly,
sure,
that's fine.
I would agree.
If you're willing to lose that
high
portion,
risk, low risk investment, your long-term security is low risk investment.
That's right.
Because I can't afford to leave my children zero. So we're going to park 90% of all my stuff into something secure. And then with 10%, I'm going to see what I can do with it. And a lot of that is being in the right place, the right time, right decision. So there's a fair amount of gamblers methodology with just the get rich. I call it the get rich quick schemes, you know. Yeah. That's kind of it. Like, it could hit, you know, buy 10 of this high risk stuff. One might work out, and I don't think there's anything really wrong with it. It's like no different than, you know, that's your eating out money. Yeah. That equates to the same thing as eating out. If I lose, we ain't eating out, mama. Yeah. Right? That's it. So it's like, we're staying home. It's chicken and rice because daddy gambled the eating out money. And if she's okay with that, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. The biggest thing that we do is wealth preservation and income. So
long term. We're
not trying to beat markets. We're not trying to pick the hot stock of the week. We're trying to protect the client's capital, inventory style. So like a lot of these guys that we work with, they run businesses, like they have their own thing. Not all of them. Some of them are corporate guys, but you know, the money that they trust us with, they want to make sure they get it back.
Oh yeah,
that's the first thing.
100%. Yeah, it's easy. This isn't that complex. It's the don't fall for the dream vacation when it comes to investments. I'm sure there's a great story about someone that hit it big with this thing that doesn't even really exist. Yeah, that's cool for him. But what about remember the GameStop thing? Like, what happened? The only person that really won was the platform.
Yeah.
GameStop GameStop won, the platform won, and there was a huge number of people, probably about 95% of them, that lost their entire shit.
Yeah, well, the trading platforms got nailed by the SEC. So like Robinhood was a big one. Robinhood got nailed like $40 million fine or $50 million fine by the SEC. And what they were doing, there was a lot of cute games they were playing, but the first thing was they were saying like no cost trading, but what they were doing was there's like a bid ask spread. So like if you would buy a share of whatever meme stock it was, say it was $1, well, they were buying it for like 99 cents, and they would then collect the 1% difference, but then they would say to the public, there's no fee. So there's not, but it was not true. They were lying. It was a hidden fee. So they got nailed for that. And the other one was, oh my God, this was crazy, bro. So I've never had like the app on my phone, but I've seen it. Like I know what it looks like. The same engineers that designed the notification chime, the thumb up for Facebook, like all the basic stuff that we use, a lot of those guys were the same team that built out these trading platforms. So they gamified trading.
Yeah, dopamine hit.
When you would make a trade on the app, confetti would fall down the screen. It would make like this nice chime, like "ba-da-ding, you made a trade," like woohoo, and then like so it encourages like trading. And the house always wins. So Wall Street was built off the backs of common traders. Like the whole system is designed to get you to screw up. They want you to trade often. They collect the spreads every time. And the more activity it is, the better it is for the house. And that also is more exciting. So people that are online, they're like, oh yeah, let me do this, do that, blah, 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 and they get, they show the sexy stuff. But again, it's like everything is against the proper way to manage money is really boring.
Yeah.
It's what we talked about. It's quality and time. Like nobody's going to get excited if you're like, hey man, buy ExxonMobil and just reinvest the dividends for 25 years and never touch it.
Exactly.
Like nobody's going to watch that.
I don't get to, and that's to that exact point. So many things about long-term success mirrors investment. It's the body.
Yeah.
If you want to build a body, you're going to put a lot into it and get almost nothing out of it for a long time.
That's right.
Relationship too. You're going to put a lot out into the bucket of the relationship, and maybe you won't really detect in the moment what you're getting out of it until 10, 20, 30 years into the future. Same thing with personal development, education, religion. All of these things bear fruit way into the future. And in the near term, you can't see it. So those people that can do those things are secure. Delayed gratification is one of the greatest personal development skills that you can master as a person, is because almost no return today.
It's huge.
It's
long
just
game.
micro returns, and that's mirrored in those investments. It's micro returns, 1% basically annually-ish, right? Every month. So that's a percentile fraction every month that you get back. And sometimes it'll dip, sometimes it'll rise, but for over time, it's less than a percentage. Okay. That's in 30 days of effort and my hard-earned work every single month. That doesn't sound so exciting on paper.
You made 1%, Clinton.
Yeah, 0.7% gain on your hard-earned efforts for your whole life.
Right.
Okay, cool. Dude, this is real fun.
Yeah, dude, you're so right. It's a long game.
So now it's that $1,000 investment in something quick. Sounds real lovely.
That's it, 100%. It's the same across the board.
Yeah.
And people today are so like, they want the quick hit. They want the fast results. And it's sad because that's what a lot of people are spewing out there, in my industry, certainly, and I know in others too.
Yep.
But it's common sense, man. I think it's like our parents taught us, it's like pay yourself first, hang out with good people, do what you say you're going to do. If it's too good to be true, all these basic, like fundamental lessons that I remember as a kid. That's to think like, oh, dad, like that's silly. Like, that's dumb. What are you talking about? My dad would always tell me like, hang around good people. And it's just something Dad would say. But now, like, as you get older, you think about it, you're like, oh my God, like you are the average of the top 5. I mean, we all hear that, we know that, but it's so true. Yeah. And now I'm like telling my son these lessons, and he's like, oh, Dad, you're so gay. Oh, Dad, shut up, you're so dumb.
You don't know
he's
anything,
13,
Dad. He knows everything in the world at 13. Got it. You got it, son.
Yeah, or Dad, you're
watch,
so cringe.
watch your first heartbreak. See how this rolls.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, I get it. And how I typically do it is I take whatever is in my high risk and I keep it static. So we'll say that my high risk bucket of whatever it is that I'm gonna do is X dollars. Doesn't matter. I just take it. And if I somehow manage to win big at the slot machine, I literally just keep my investment bucket the same. I take that over. That's
smart.
That's taxes
Yeah.
and whatever. And then I just keep moving down. Maybe I'll take 10% and put it back into my operational cash flow.
Yeah, love it.
And then just keep storing the rest. It is not part of this game right here. And then when this one gets big enough for the long-term investment, I move it out of high risk over into long-term. Property, long-term investments back. So it's a loop. Pay Uncle Sam, get it back over into long-term investments, and keep playing the game with this little bucket right here. And if you're good, if you're as good as you say it is, then that should be plenty.
Yeah.
You should never have to risk the mortgage with this little bucket because it's so good, right?
Yeah.
I can drive around in Bugattis and Lamborghinis with this little $1,000 investment. Okay. All right, let's do it then. Let's see. Let's see how that works.
Good plan. I like how you staggered out like that. We do that too with our folks.
I do that. It's just that I do that in life. High risk, low risk. Sometimes in business, you got to go a little bit. You got to go a little bit high risk, and if you want to get somewhere quicker, sometimes you have to gamble.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, but that's business too. I mean,
well, so we talk to our clients sometimes about this. Like, so say we're heavy on financial planning. So we get a client. Our typical client comes in. They're approaching retirement, or like just retired. They're normally like kind of like right in that zone where
like
they've
50 to 70.
Yeah, I'd say like probably like 50 to 60, 65, that's kind of the sweet spot for us. And they've worked hard, they've accumulated capital, but they know retirement's coming. And they're like, hey, I've got this stuff, but do I have enough stuff to provide me income that I'm not gonna outlive?
Sure.
So they come to us and we do planning with them, and we look at the math, and we've got a lot of cool software we take them through that mathematically answers that question. It's not Rob saying like, yeah, you're fine, or like, no, you need more. It's, it's Monte Carlo simulated out, and we stress test it, and we run it different scenarios. It's pretty fun. I like it. I nerd out on this shit.
No, that's easy.
The cool part is, so like we'll provide them a mathematic probability based on their goals, because everyone's different. So if they want, retiree, they have Social Security, maybe a small pension. Those are kind of a thing of the past now. They have, a couple $1 million in an IRA. They got like $1 million 401k. Their house is paid off. And they're like 3-4-5 million kind of net worth. That's kind of a sweet spot for us. They care about their family. They want to set some stuff up. They do the estate planning. We work with some great attorneys in Orlando, and we will provide them a statistical analysis, an actual number, and it'll say it's between 0 and 100. 0 and 99. And it'll say, are you on track to retire and not run out of money or not?
Right.
And ideally, we want them in what's called a green zone, which is like 70 to 80%. And if they're not there, if they're at like 50%, then we can change things to help get them up there. Now, those things aren't like, hey, here's like the hot stock. It's like, well, do you want to work another year or two, or do you want to spend a little bit less in retirement?
Yeah.
It's the things we can control.
Sure.
Because I can't control inflation or the market or taxes or geopolitical
What can you put
stuff.
into the bucket?
Yeah, exactly. And so having that type of understanding of the picture provides them a lot of confidence and clarity that they know, like, hey, okay, maybe we'll take 2 trips to Europe instead of 3, or maybe I'll tell John to work an extra year before John retires, and then they save a little bit more, and then that'll move the needle. It'll get them into that green zone where we want them. And then the other extreme is if they're beyond the green zone. We've had people that have like maxed out at a 99, meaning, I have a lot of clients that have done well saving and accumulating. They don't want to spend. And I'm showing them like on the plan, like, hey, dude, you gotta go enjoy some money. Like, take a trip, do some stuff. And it's a mentality. Some of them are just like so scarce with their money. I have a couple in particular, they have no kids, no beneficiaries.
Got to spend it all.
Yeah, and I'm like, let's go. Like, come on, guys. But some of the generational stuff, like, if you grew up and your parents lived in the Great Depression, for example.
Oh yeah,
you're older.
Yeah, you're like tight.
Yeah. So that's kind of, our role is really to provide them some confidence, some clarity, so they understand the numbers. Are they going to be able to retire successfully or not? And then ultimately to talk to them about things they have control over, which again, it's not the market.
Right. Yeah. that makes perfect sense. It's long-term security, and you guys know, so that's good. So, we're almost out of time here.
Man,
I'd like you to kind of close them out here, send them off with their closing message, and then and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, cool. Man, I'm brand new to this world of social, but I'm telling you, it's sort of like things we talked about today with, cutting your teeth in business. If you're trying to get in shape or these things take time. It's like any good thing. You don't do it overnight. If you want to be successful and have a good retirement, it's not like you wake up one day and you pick the right stock and you hit 100x and now you retire. That doesn't work. That's fairy tales. You do the heavy lifting by being disciplined. You do it consistently for a really long time, and that means very basic stuff like don't spend more than you make, don't over leverage, and don't buy into any of the the hype of like the get rich quick stuff, the crypto stuff. I mean, I have friends that are in digital assets and they're smart guys, they do well, but most of the stuff that I see out there regarding Bitcoin, crypto, leverage, all this stuff, get rich quick stuff, it is toxic. That's not how you win in this game. It's quality and time and having a good team around you. That's what we do. That's what we do with our folks.